So there's 5 things I've narrowed down for us to understand. But the first, most important thing before I even get to the 5 is to ask ourselves what we are measuring and how we are measuring it. I'll give you a little example. I have a friend, 2nd grade. He's a grown up now, but we still talk about this because in 2nd grade, he was held back in 2nd grade for not being able to do his math facts in a minute. So let's think about what we're measuring. Are we measuring math facts? Are we measuring the understanding of math? Or are we measuring the speed at which this little boy can look at something, calculate something, and then with his hand, write it down? I don't know if he's right-handed or left-handed, but imagine if he was left-handed and had been trained to be right-handed, that it would be a little bit of a slower process. I mean, there's a million different reasons why it would be a slower process. But what's really important is what was being measured actually. And did he get retained for speed? Think about that. Just the speed that he took the test. And that's why he was held back in a grade. We really need to think about what we're measuring. Okay, a couple more things. Before we get very much further, I want you to look at this headline. Shocking, right? Oh my gosh. But what's really going on? Secondly, I want you to look at the title of this. Things haven't been changing. I wonder why. This is what we're going to talk about. I'm going to spend the entire year sharing videos with you about school, the way, what I've learned, the evolution of 37 years in it, reading, studying, practicing, all of that. I'm going to give it all to you. But for right this second, I want to add one more key component. What's going on? The reason it's so confusing is because it's like this. Let's say you took your car to the mechanic and it was making this sound, right? And you're like, what? Something's coming apart under the hood. You hear it, right? Something's going on. I don't know what, something. Take it to the mechanic and he's like, yeah, all right. Obviously you need 4 new tires. And he puts the tires on and he sends you out. And you're like, wait. It's still going. He's like, well, we did the best we could. We did everything we could, figure out. So it's on you now. And you're like, what? Why do I have 4 new tires? This doesn't make any sense. That's the key. Number 5, what is being measured? Very good question. 1990 or so, I was working on the Tana Autumn Reservation. It's a reservation south of Tucson. And we were doing the tests because we always do the tests. Now, what you need to know about testing is that we're told to never touch the test. Like, we are terrified. We sign a paper that swears we'll never help the kids do anything. It's like, it's so like I can't even explain that, but you're giving them something, you don't know what it is, and you've never been privy to it except when you took something similar when you were in school. Do you see what I'm saying? So anyway, we'll get to that. But here I am giving the test, and so the kids will ask you questions and you can't answer anything. You can repeat the phrase at the top or, whatever. So a kid asked me over, so I go over completely prepared to say almost nothing. And I look down and here's the question. Which one of these would make the best place to have a farm? Now, I'm on the reservation where there are farms, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. It looks like that. So imagine now the kids who live there, and they live on farms, right? They have gardens. They can read the word farm. Oh, it doesn't even matter because wait. So then there's 4 choices. Here they are. A cityscape. An oceanscape. Something that looks just like Iowa. And then something that looks exactly like their front yard and their backyard. So there's nothing wrong with the child's definition of farm. What's wrong is the test creator's definition of farm is too narrow. Now, did they write the question to trick the kids? No. I don't believe they did. I think they want to know if the kid can read the word farm. Okay. But do you see that that's not the best way to judge whether or not the child can read the word farm? So what are they measuring? They don't know because there's bias written in, actual confirmation bias written in, and nobody can even see it. Now that's a problem. All right, number 4, who determines what a reading level is? Good question, right? Because I think most of us think, oh, it's a 7th grade test. It must be a 7th grade reading level. But who decides 7th grade reading level? Aren't you kind of curious? Me too. But did I look at the test? No. All of those 20 years between that one test and today, there's 20 years in between. But let me tell you what happened. I was giving out the tests just like normal, and middle school gets shut down. Let me just tell you, the whole place is shut down, and there's all these so much protocol, so much, delivering this. Don't accidentally touch it. Don't bubble wrong. Don't bubble in. It's crazy. So here I am in my space, and in another space, a kid took the test and comes to my space. So in my space, I'm supposed to give him this one test. And he's like, hey, and I come over because it's a question. So I'm prepared not to answer it. And he's like, I already took that test. And I'm like, what? How did you just take the test? There's no way he should have taken this test. Like someone messed up. But I opened the test because I'm trying to figure it out. I swear I'm not trying to look at the test and give away all the information. So this is the second test I've ever looked at. Imagine. I open it up and there is a paragraph from this book called West with the Night by Beryl Markham. Now, some people say that Hemingway wrote it. It's beautifully written by a woman who lived in Africa and flew planes to scout elephant. Now, she's like one of the first pilots ever. It's like 1920. And yes, there's words. And are the words readable? Sure, they're readable. But don't you think the woman who's that, or Ernest Hemingway who wrote it for her, because they were apparently friends, might have had some elevated thoughts that maybe don't really go on a 7th grade test? How did someone go, oh, I know. Does that mean, let's talk about Shakespeare. Did he write it for 12-year-olds? No. 15-year-olds? No. But we read it, or we try to read it. Like, is that a judgment of reading? It's just kind of, I'm just curious, right? It's a good question. Who determines reading level? That book is amazing. It's literally one of my top 10 favorite books of all time. And I'm like, I wouldn't have given it to my 12-year-old. In fact, I give it as like a graduation from college present. I'm not going to give it to a 13-year-old, and I'm certainly not going to test the kids on it. Something to consider. Okay, before we get to number 3, fun fact. I was a reader forever. Now, I read introspectively, which we'll talk about in other videos, but I was a reader my whole life. Never good at test taking. But I was taught that if the kids were readers, there's percentages out there. If your child reads this much, then they will test this high. If they read this much, they'll test high. So, okay. Yes, I just said I wasn't a good test taker. But I was told this other thing. So somehow I put the other part in reality on the shelf. And then I went forth and created readers. Now I had a lot of different reasons to create readers. I really wanted people to hang out with, and readers are really fun to hang out with. Introspective readers take responsibility for themselves. So I didn't have to say much in class anymore. I didn't have to redirect, because if they cussed, instead of going, "What, miss?" I'd go, "Hey," and they're like, oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. Because they took responsibility. Okay, that's a complete side note, but we're going to go back to this idea. So I'm a reader. I'm terrible at test taking. I think because I've been told creating readers will make better testers. Okay, that didn't happen. And I was like, what is going on? So at the same time, I'm like, how come my kids can read so well but not pass these tests? I'm like, I really should find out. But I didn't know how to find out because I couldn't look at the test, right? So at the same time, my own daughter was taking SATs for college. And so I bought her one of the books because I needed her to get like 2 more answers correct so we could get $1,500 more per semester or year, whatever it was, to college. I'm like, honey, we got to find out. So I open up this SAT book and I'm like, why aren't we told these things? Like, why, as a public school teacher, am I not told the same things in the SAT book? So there's an SAT book, there's an SAT class, and for the kids in school, let me tell you what they say. Hey, kids, get plenty of rest, eat a good breakfast, and try your best. And then I saw recently one added little helpful hint, read more books. Yes, mind blown. That is the advice. So SAT in class for motivated people who are taking a test that they've signed up for and paid for, and not any hints about the structure of testing whatsoever. Yeah, something to think about, right? All right, number 3, teachers and students are severely misled. So we're going to talk about betrayal. Okay, so every teacher, everywhere, okay, always exceptions. Every teacher that I've ever heard of in every situation has been told, read the whole passage, kids. They have to tell the kids this. It's in the instructions, which again are monitored, right? Read the entire passage. Interestingly, every person I've ever met who's really good at test taking, not every, let's say a very high percentage, goes, oh my God, I never read the whole test, all the passage. Why would I do that? Right? So now here's an example. Check that out. See the question? See it? See it? What's interesting about that, I just took that out of a test that you can look at. And you can see that there's no reason to read the entire passage to answer that question. 0. You could read it 500 times and the passage would never inform you to answer that question. Now, are all questions like that? No, but a whole bunch. In fact, this test you can take without reading anything and get it correct. But we won't get into that. I think that's with a lot of tests. At least it's with every time I show somebody. But anyway, so let's go back to the passage. So the teacher's told kids read the passage. So we're told it's going to help the child to read the passage. Then the child is told from the person they trust that reading the passage is going to inform them of the answers to the questions. It is not said, hey, sometimes you don't have to read the passage. Sometimes the answer is not in the passage. No. It's not said like that. It's literally said, read the whole passage. Now, maybe someone's like, well, obviously you don't, but you don't understand. We're told that. We're not told what I'm telling you. And I think that's betrayal. And it's done all the time. In fact, where I used to work, they betray the kids in between testing, during testing. I mean, they like 4 quarters plus other ones. And there's like so much betrayal, but nobody's talking about it. And teachers of 37 years are looking through the questions and discussing them. We're not talking about it. So I'm telling you, there's a whole piece of betrayal in there. And think about the harm that's being done to a child who's like, okay, I'm going to do my best. And they're exhausted after reading the passage that they didn't even have to read to answer the question. They're not even given the idea of choosing when and how to read because there's no test booklet. So they do it one way or not at all. Something to think about. Some of you might be thinking, but they're teaching the standards, right? And then measuring the standards, right? Number 2, are they measuring the standards? So check out this question. right? Theme is in the question. Okay, which means the test maker guy over here, check, included a question on theme. That's what they do, right? Include a question on author's purpose. Include a question on figurative language. That's how it works. They go through their checklist, put one on theme, done. So you go over here and now you're looking for theme. But you're not even looking for theme. The question's no different than all of the other questions. Only this case, this one's tricky because there's 3 components to the question. But none of them are measuring theme. They're telling you what the theme is. So it's just the same kind of question that they've already given you, that they've already been talking about, that they've been doing the whole entire time. But so let's go back to the tires, right? Then you're going back as a teacher, and you're told by this test that you don't get to see because it's a secret, you're told to go change the tires. Do you see? But you're changing the tires again. Because the truth is, the test is not, you're not taught how to take the test. And it's not measuring the standard, and it's possibly not measuring reading, which we've just gone over. And this is only number 2. Wait till I get to number 1. Okay, one more thing before I get to number 1. Okay, so remember the scores, the Heritage Foundation? Okay, so they haven't improved. We're talking about all the reasons they don't improve. I want to talk about one more reason they may not be improving. Have you ever met somebody who's like, oh, how can I help you? How can I serve you? And they mean it, and they help you, and they serve you. Have you ever met somebody who's completely the opposite and doesn't ever ask you if they can help you or serve you? I wonder if those are 2 different people. I wonder if there's a whole bunch of people out there who generally, and this is not even, I'm not being negative, they generally serve themselves. And then let's say there's a group of people who generally like to serve others. So you say, hey, get the stuff out of the car, and your kid doesn't move. Hey, buddy, I need help. Can you help me with this stuff in the car? And then he moves. Now, yes, you are asking a question. But what if a bunch of the kids, let's say half, want to serve you, but they don't want to serve themselves? Now, I'm going to put this in my next video, which you can see in the link, right? Which is actually giving you test strategies stolen from everywhere that actually apply to all kinds of different tests. But I want you to consider, if you're giving a test, if you just say, hey guys, I just saw this video. I'm actually going to show you the video, and you can show my video, and you can say, hey, can you guys try this and see if this person's right and help me? Because I want to help you, and I'm going to teach next year, so I want to help them, and I want to just keep helping people. So if you guys can try these strategies and think about this, and then we can apply them and it works. I mean, that of course would be cool, but if you could help me, that'd be awesome. And don't worry. I mean, if you don't feel like helping me, that's really not the point. If you want to get better at this, check out these ideas. They might be kind of cool. They might be helpful. What if that was part of the problem? Because an SAT, think about it, the kid, again, I said it, paying for it, going to college, someone's paying for it. They're probably doing some prep work. No, not all of them. Some of them are just doing it because their parents are like, oh, take a test, right? But all of the kids in school are taking these tests over and 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 over again. And it's not serving anyone. So if they like to serve people and doing that's not serving themselves, and they don't see any reason why it would serve anyone else, then why would they even try? It's a consideration, right? Because the SAT kids are at least signing up and driving to the spot. You're just making these kids do it. What success rate would you have if you passed out a test to everyone around you right now? Would they just like, oh, I can't wait, I love taking tests? I mean, We really need to consider this. And that's before we get to number one. So this is number one. It better be really good, right? Okay. Are they really measuring what they say they're measuring? This is so much fun. I put this question on my Facebook. Now, I'm not saying all my Facebook friends are geniuses, great test takers, readers. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying it was Facebook. I have over 1,000 friends. And I actually know these people, by the way, because, I'm 58 and I'm from Tucson and I keep my friends and colleagues and there's some students, old students. So anyway, I put this test out there. Yeah, I didn't know what was going to happen. And I'm so happy that I did this. So as you can see, there's a question, there's the answers, and I want to show you what my friend said. So now here's what my friend said, right? Interesting. I mean, it says answer 2, but 10 people chose A by itself. And they're adults. Say whatever you want. These are really interesting results. You got to admit, they're really interesting. Okay, so someone who chose A said, this best indicates a level of bonding most likely to encourage and trust learning and training. They only picked A, which means to them, the other 4 did not apply, right? Someone who chose C said, C establishes trust. Someone who chose A because the words liking and enjoyment, which they said were helpful for someone to be successful in something. And then one computer science friend said, sorry, I couldn't help more, but there's no logical association and confidence in any of the options when you simplify the basis of each statement. Boom. That's interesting. These are highly functioning people. Did I mention none of them are 10? Actually, someone answered for their 10-year-old and it was crazy. So just for fun, I did it with AI so you could see what AI said. Check that out, right? I just love AI. So, and then AI's reasoning was these details reflect Sasha's growing connection with Tiger Lily and her self-assurance in applying what she has learned. Woo! That is amazing. This is a practice question. Look at the answers. And I just had a friend, I told one friend, she goes, yeah, we're going over test preparation. She said, we, the adults, the English teachers, are going over the questions for test prep and they're getting different answers. You can't measure reading like this, period. And it's damaging children, period. And it's making terrible relationships between adults and children because they trust us and then we're damaging them. So we really should talk about this a little bit more. Did I hear someone scream at me? What are we going to measure with? Okay, scream at me. What are we going to measure with? Not this. So I want to sum this up. The world is saying kids aren't reading. Okay, kids aren't reading, but that's in all my other videos. Why, right? But kids aren't testing well. We're losing this ability to read and we're not reading on grade level. We're not measuring grade level reading. We need to be honest about that. So I'm going to give you a little, let's go back to our Tiger Lily question, our number one reason why this is all kind of a train wreck. Think about this. This is what I've been told and you've been told and everyone's been told. If our parents read to us, if we had a good childhood education, if we were from an affluent family, if we went to an affluent school, if we'd gotten enough sleep, if someone had asked us questions about the book we were reading, oh, that was really important, if we practiced reading out loud, if we understood all the required standards, if COVID hadn't happened, if we read the entire passage, if we had good comprehension, if we read 20 minutes a day, then we could pass the test. That's assuming the test is measuring what it says it's measuring, which we just talked about. It's just not. So the reality is the test isn't going away. But I'm going to make a video and show you, how to approach it in a different way that's going to help, and share it, give it away, tell everyone. So, I tried to do this many times and show people. And I was at a school not that long ago, and I said, hey, this is really cool. And this science teacher goes, I want the kids to demonstrate what I taught them. They're not measuring that. The standardized test is not measuring what you taught them like you think it is. So help the kids, show the kids, talk to the kids, teach the kids, show them what I just showed you. It'll help. I have more videos, I have more stuff you can see. I'm going to help you as much as I possibly can.